Now we'll add some shifts in the body according to our steps. We're going to start by animating our hips, so we'll get those moving now. Let's select our hip control. And for the hips, first we want to isolate where we want our motion to start and where we want it to stop. So we'll have the motion start at about the time where the character is of course moving forward, is stepping forward, and we'll have it stop when a little bit after the right foot is done planted. So the character begins to start moving his foot forward at about frame 20, so we'll go there and press Shift W and Shift E, and we'll have the movement end a little bit after the right foot is planted, so we'll go to frame 36 and press Shift W and Shift E. Okay, so once we have the movement isolated, we can now begin animating, and we'll also go into our perspective and graph view so we can see the keys that we're about to set. So let's make sure we have a nice view, and we'll focus more in on the perspective camera. Okay, so the way this works is as the foot is lifting up to go forward, the hips are actually going to rotate to that direction of that lifted foot in the Y, and also in the Z to that lifted foot too, the foot going forward. Okay, so on frame 27, as that foot is rising, we'll just go to the rotate Y, and we'll rotate the hips to the direction of that left foot, and in the Z, we'll rotate it to that direction slightly as well. Okay, and we want the hips to settle afterwards in the Y, so we'll go to frame 29 and put in a value of 0 there for the rotate Y, so the hips settle. And as that right foot's going, and as that right foot's lifting up, let's go to about frame 32, and we'll now rotate the hips to the direction of the right foot going forward and lifting up. So in the Z, we'll rotate it like that as well. Alright, awesome. Now watch what happens afterwards. We get a nice settle with the hips. Okay, on frame 30, from frames 32 to 36. So here's our motion if we hit play. Great, so our hips are looking pretty good. And we can check it out from more of a top angle so we can see our motion from there. We don't want to only look at our animation in one view, just in case we end up missing something. Alright, so that completes the rotation motion, and now we can work on the translation. And all we need to worry about is the translate X and the translate Y. And the other channels we won't need to worry about because the motion wouldn't really be noticeable. So since we already have our keys isolated, the way this works for the translate X, we'll start there. And as that foot is getting lifted up, the hips are going to rotate, or going to shift, excuse me, to the direction of the planted foot. Okay, so the body can stay balanced. So on frame 27, we'll just translate the hips slightly to that direction based off of the amount or how big the footstep is. Okay, and the hips will, on frame 32, go to the opposite direction, and not as much because it's a smaller step. And then they settle afterwards. Great, so when we hit play, here's what we get. Awesome. And now, let's check something out in the side view. Notice, okay, the character's stepping forward, but what's wrong with this picture? Well, he's not moving forward, he's just stepping forward, so we need to have him translate forward. So we could use our hip control for that. We're going to get some nice movement from it. So all we need to do is go to frame 37, or 36, excuse me. And on 36, we'll just translate the character forward slightly like that. So notice now, when he steps forward, when we hit play, he's moving forward as he should. And we'll also adjust our character's head control. And we'll just translate it up some so his head's not detaching from his neck. Okay. So here's the motion we get now when we hit play. Great. Awesome. Well, that completes our hip motion, and now we can start working on the chest control because that needs to move too. And as far as the chest goes, the chest is also going to rotate to the direction of the lifted foot. Okay, in the Z, and that's the only channel we'll need to worry about for the chest. Again, the rest of the channels won't be too noticeable. So we'll isolate our motion as we've done before. We'll go to frame 20, and since we'll be animating in the rotate Z, we'll just go ahead and focus in on that. Get a better view of our F curve. So we'll go to frame 20 and we'll key the rotate Z there. And notice we have a key already on 43 where we want the motion to end. So we can leave that there, and we're going to get some nice motion afterwards. Okay, once the animation hits around this point, some nice settle. So we'll go to frame 27 and rotate the chest control to the direction of the lifted foot. And let's delay it a bit just so we can get some nice fluid motion. Sometimes when we just delay things by even a frame or two, we can get some nice motion from it. So we'll go to frame 32 and just delay it. We'll just rotate the chest slightly to the opposite direction, not as much, because it is a smaller step, and then we could check out our F curve. Alright, so let's hit play to see our motion. Great. Okay, let's check out our animation from a front view now to see how it's looking. We'll hit play. And even hide our NURBS curves. Alright, let's check it out. We'll just hit play. Alright, so it's looking pretty good. Maybe we could take off a little bit of rotation on the chest so the character isn't moving as much, because he shouldn't be due to his arms being planted as they are, and again, the motion's not going to be as much. Okay, so we'll just take this key on the rotate Z, and we could even focus on the rotate Z, and we'll just move it up some. And we'll do the same for this key on frame 33. We'll just make sure we go there first and then move it down so we can see the adjustments we're making. Alright, now we can go back into more of a front view and hide our NURBS curves, and then do another playback. Alright, great, that's better. Awesome. So now for our last task, for as far as the animating the shifts of the body, is we'll need to animate the center of gravity control. Okay, so we get some more body shifting, and all we need to worry about here is the translate X and the translate Y. Okay, so we need to give the body some side to side, a bit more side to side in the X, and also some bop in the Y. So let's go to our perspective and graph view again, and we'll start with the translate X first. Again, we want to isolate our motion where we want it to start and stop. So we'll go to frame 20 and get a better view of our F curve and key the translate Y here. And if we go, notice on frame 43 as well, we have a key already there where we want the motion to stop. And again, we're going to get some nice subtle follow through afterwards. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. So let's go to about this time frame 28. We're going to slightly offset the body again so we can get some nice fluid motion going. So we'll just translate the character slightly to the direction of the planted foot, just like what we did with the hips. And then this time on about frame, let's go to about frame 34 this time, and we'll just translate the character to the opposite direction. And not as much because it's a smaller step, so we can bring down this key some. Great, and we get a nice settle afterwards. So here's our motion. Awesome. Okay, so with that done, we can now work on the last task for the center of gravity control, which is our translate Y movement. And notice we already have keys that isolate our motion for us, where we want it to start and where we want it to stop. Okay, we can just take this key on frame 22 and let's move it down about 2 frames. Then we'll go ahead and get a little bit better view so we can see our F curve in more detail. Okay, so as that left foot is rising, let's go to about frame, we'll offset it slightly as well. We'll go to frame 26 and we'll just translate our center of gravity up slightly. Remember, it's a small step. And let's have it come down at about frame 29. Okay, after that foot is about been planted. So here's what we get. Alright, now we need to work on translating up for the right foot. So for the right foot, we'll just go to frame 31, again offsetting it rise them up a little bit, and then we'll have them drop at about frame 35, again with a slight offset. And notice the movement we get when we hit play. Great. So we're getting some nice movement now from our character's body. We've got the shifts animated, the body shifts. And the last task we need to do is adjust the right knee. Notice how it's bent inward closer to the body when it should be out more. Okay, so we want to fix that. Let's go to about frame 17 where the character is most down here, and we'll just translate the knee out, and we'll also need to adjust it on frame 29 as well, so we'll go there and do the same. Just translate it out some. Great. So with that done, we can now go ahead and work on a few play blasts to check out our motion. So let's go ahead and hide our NURBS curves, and we can do one in the front view. So let's go ahead and do a render. Here it is. Alright, great. So there, the front view is looking great. Let's go ahead and check out another view. We can go ahead and close this out and check out more of a top view. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get more of a top view angle just to change up the play blast angle a little bit and find a nice view. Maybe get in a little bit closer and render off one from about here. Here it is. Great. So with our body shifts added according to the character steps, that finishes this lesson, and in the next lesson we'll just continue working on the feet.